We have many types of relationships. Some are permanent and others are temporary. As we interact with others, we must know the difference. If we are a keen observer of virtues, we will learn how to share our world with others and adjust our boundaries accordingly. As we allow others to enter and exit our physical and emotional environments, we must know who they are to either embrace the joy or avoid the conflict they can bring to our world. We must also have enough self awareness to understand how we give pleasure or pain to other people's worlds. Many of us try to avoid pain at all costs. However, challenges are how we grow. There is a saying, no pain, no gain, which was a famous slogan as it relates to working out and physical fitness from the 80s. There is something to this, though, because pressure sometimes reveals the beauty within us, just like when it's applied to carbon.
Our actions have great influence on other people's worlds. So we have to decide what type of co star will we be. Just as you have your own world, each person has their own world. And we have to think about that when we make decisions. In this world that we share, we have many different worlds that we enter. As mentioned, each person have their own world. When multiple worlds intersect, they make another world, such as communities, groups, organizations, and industries. Those worlds, rules are put into place to make sure that they function properly. Any different environment that you enter is a different world with different rules. In a country, it is the government that make the rules. In a job, it is the boss that make the rules. On Twitter, aka X, it's Elon Musk who make the rules. In any world that we enter, if the rules are not followed, there are unwanted consequences. The potential for painful experiences increases as we interact with other people's world. There will be a greater likelihood of situations that brings disappointment. We are subjecting ourselves to loss, betrayal, conflict, and rejection. If we sit in a room by ourselves, we will never experience the pain caused by those acts. On the other hand, we will never grow. There are also benefits of interacting with other people's worlds. It gives us the possibility of gaining information about ourselves, how we process and interact to pain and pleasure. The sharing of worlds gives us access to friendship, support, connections, and more resources. Your world is not an isolated place. It constantly interacts with the worlds of others. Every person you encounter has their own world with their own rules, values, and experiences. When these worlds overlap, they create new shared spaces like communities, organization, industries. In these shared worlds, we make decisions that can influence others and shape the overall experience. Understanding the worlds we enter and the roles we play in them is crucial to navigating life with purpose and empathy. Recognizing other people's worlds. Reflect on the worlds you regularly enter outside of your own. What other people's worlds do you step into, and how do they differ from your own? Consider your family's world, your workplace, your social circles, any community group you are a part of. How do these rules, values, or expectations change when you enter these spaces? So now that I understand my world, I'm going to go into this world. I don't expect the empathy to be there for me. You know how they say when you go into Rome, you do what the Romans do?
Right. Yes.
I don't necessarily agree with that, but in that statement, you recognizing in Rome, it may be different rules than it is in the place that you come from. So any environment that we go in is different rules. And if we don't abide by those rules, it's consequences.
To be accepted, to assimilate into that environment, into that space. Sort of like the fish out of water kind of scenario where you go along to get along, you make friends so that it's an easier transition so that you're not offending anyone. And I think that's what people do in order to avoid pain, avoid the discomfort and what that consequence would look like. So at times we're not our true authentic selves. We're in environments that we're not used to. We don't know what's going to be the consequence of us being in our true authentic selves.
That's why I think it's important to recognize the rules of the world before you enter it. You think about the women who in America and they go overseas. They think they can act the same way overseas that they act here, and it's consequences because the rules are different. To recognize whatever world you're going into, to know those rules, how the world operates, and then you can move accordingly. It all goes back to the first thing we talked about, and that's knowing yourself, knowing your world, knowing your boundaries, what you will and will not do. So the world that you go into, you're not fitting into the world. You're trying to see if that world will fit around yours. If not, you can remove yourself. If you don't know yourself and you go into another world, you don't have the proper information, the proper knowledge to go into that world, what do you think could happen?
You get taken advantage of, especially if you don't know yourself. You turn into whatever they want you to be, and that might not be what you want to do.
Right. So that goes to the importance of knowing yourself.
First and foremost, that Shakespearean quote, "To thine own self be true."
Okay. And we also want to highlight the power of influence, of how our actions can deeply influence the world of others, just as their actions can impact ours. Just recognizing your ability to influence this person. You can say some things and affect this person's emotions, your spouse or whatever, but you also know exactly what to do to make them smile, to make them laugh. It's just to recognize that we have that influence, and it's twofold, meaning they have that influence on ours also. You control the power of influence that someone else have. They can only have influence if you allow it.
I do think, though, that people with a lot of power and influence sometimes they lack empathy. I won't say all, but some, because they're so powerful and influential. Some can get away with not really acknowledging other people's humanity and take advantage of others because they know they command the room, they know that they're influential.
Okay, but yeah, they decided who they wanted to be, but not everyone's like that. Just think about the influential people who's known for showing love to other people.
I was thinking about a media mogul who's powerful, who's able to help you have a career because of the label they own, and they exude their power over you by making you do things you may not want to do in order to get that record deal.
Well, that's the thing. If you want to enter that world, you have a choice. And you recognize how this world is. You saying a record deal, but it may be even a relationship. You may understand that this person has so much power over my world that it's scary to me, that I really don't have control and power over my world. Maybe you recognized it in the beginning and still did it, or maybe it evolved over time. But now at this moment, you're recognizing that this relationship has an imbalance of power. Now you have a decision to make because this is your world. Now you can accept the pain or you can try to alleviate it.
And I think that's a tough one when you are in love with someone that's very influential and their world has become your world. How do you extricate yourself from that?
Listen what you just said. Your
Yeah,
world has become their world.
right. They have become the center of your universe.
Right. But you giving up control over your world. You no longer have control. You no longer are the center of your universe.
Right. That is a problem.
It can happen in any type of relationship. Understand it's a balance to everything in life. Once you recognize the imbalance, again, you have to make a decision. That's all this is about. You recognizing the power that these people have. Now you make that choice because sometimes you're going to feel pain either way. If you walk away from this job that has so much power over you, you're going to feel pain financially. The same thing in a relationship. It may hurt just being in that relationship and it's going to hurt walking away. But you have to make a choice either way. It's your world. You're going to feel that pain. And that's what it goes back to.
Right. Ooh, that's a hard one.
Well, it's not really hard if you value yourself, and yourself is the first priority. Once you put it in that perspective, sometimes it's like a binary yes or no. Do I value this or do I value that?
It's
Which
about, do I love myself more than I love this person or having this person in my life?
I get what you're saying. It could. You could still love yourself and still stay in this relationship. You could still love yourself and walk away. You're just deciding which pain you want to feel. That's why I don't like to really put love into it, but I understand what you're saying about what you're deciding to do. This is what's best for me.
Yeah, exactly. That's a huge part of it is, and let me not say women, but some women, we get so caught up in the relationship that we're in and we don't want to leave because it's so comfortable or it meets some need that we have and it's hard to walk away.
I was
Yeah,
just gonna say it's not just men or women. It's not just even with a person. Sometimes it's with a situation. Sometimes it's with an addiction. It's the pleasure that whatever that is brings versus the pain that you are receiving from it also. Once you put all the benefits and all the detriments on that scale, which one do I value most?
That sounds so stoic because sometimes feelings are involved, the emotions are involved. You just can't walk away so simply. Even if you think you value yourself and love yourself, you still may stay in a toxic situation where it's a relationship or a habit that you can't let go of.
Yeah, and the words of Tina Turner, what love got to do with it? It goes back to how you just said it. Do you really love yourself if you're allowing yourself to get abused like that?
Sometimes abuse is really subtle, like you don't even know it's abuse.
Whatever pain that you're feeling, you know this doesn't feel good. If it's constantly happening and it doesn't feel good, it's up to you to stop it. And when you said emotions, we'll talk about that later. That's really a soulful act, something you really instinctively, naturally want to do. And if you're going off of your feelings, just think about your life. Do you really feel like getting out of bed? Do you really feel like going to the gym?
That's
You see what I'm
true.
saying? Because if you go off of your feelings, you're not gonna be very productive in life.
That's
Naturally.
very true because I would stay in bed all day.
I understand. I don't think I could stay in bed. I don't think I could do anything for a very long time without like, okay, I need to change. I naturally have to keep changing, but I understand what you're saying. The point is like taking the emotions out of it and just recognizing what's best for you. That's the one with the least amount of pain that's tolerable to you. Each person is different. Think about a time when you entered someone else's world and felt out of place or challenged. How did you navigate that experience? What did you learn from it? Reflect on how the rules or expectation of their world differed from your own. What steps did you take to adapt or overcome the challenges? Oh, that's a deep one because we all had those experiences.
Absolutely.
Okay, consider the world of a close friend or family member. How do their values, rules, and experiences shape the way you interact with them? Focus on how their world influences the decisions that you make in the relationship. What have you learned about them, and how has it changed your perspective? It's another deep one.
These are all deep.
Understanding shared worlds. Think about a shared world that you are a part of, such as a community, organization, or workplace. What are the key rules and values that govern this shared world? How do they impact the way you behave within it? So reflect on the systems, the hierarchies, and the norms that exist in the worlds. How do you navigate these structures? And what role do you play in maintaining and challenging them? When I think about like the hierarchy of things, I think like the military, and you have a chain of command. It's just like any business. And
Yes.
once you go into this role, you recognize where do you fall in this hierarchy. You know,
Right.
any situation, any role that I'm in, sometimes the way they treat the person where you just happen to fall is not acceptable to you. So guess what I'm going to have to do is remove myself from this role. Sometimes it's situations where we don't have the luxury to move out of that role. I think that goes to one of the points, adaptability, just being able to
Mm.
adapt in the world.
Yeah, you're right. Adaptability and assimilation are things that we do to fit in.
Right. And also thinking about the norms, right? In one part of the country where I'm from, there's a hierarchy in terms of man, woman, however it is, right, in this society. But then you go into the military, you could be a woman, you could be whatever. If you got the proper stripes, the proper stars, you're going to get the proper respect.
Hmm.
Those worlds have different rules, different norms. Just going into these worlds and recognize the structure. What role do you play? What pain will this world cost me? What pleasure will I get from this world? Reflect on the benefits you've gained from entering shared worlds. What have you learned about yourself, and how has interacting with others enriched your personal growth? Consider the friendship, support system, and the opportunities that come from being part of other people's worlds. How have these experiences shaped who you are?
Well, definitely being a part of this organization has, I feel, made me a much better industry professional. I've learned a lot. And the people that I've met in this organization have become friends, not just colleagues and coworkers, but actually true friends that have been able to help me out at times when I need it. I've also been able to work on their projects with them to support them, their enrichment, which also has enriched me in my professionalism. They've
Hmm.
been mentors to me as well and given me the opportunity to grow.
And let me ask you one question in that organization in terms of the hierarchy, where do you fit in?
I am vice chair of one of the committees that's a part of the category councils, and that puts me as a part of the hierarchy in a sense, but I'm not a big time hierarchy member. I do a little bit more than a member does because I do chair one of the committees, and I'm just one of the people that helps us get programming and information to our members.
Okay, we get
I'm,
it. Yeah, you up
yeah.
there. You wear white collar. You up there. I'm just one of the, yeah, right. You up there. But how do you treat the people below you?
Well, it's not that people are below me. It's
Yes, in terms of the hierarchy, they are. Let's be real.
I feel like I'm in service to them, quite honestly.
Okay.
I see myself being of service. How can I help our community grow, prosper, and get better?
Right. And I think that's the beautiful thing right there. What's the goal in any relationship, in any world that we enter? What is the goal? Just how you said in the relationship between two people, let's just say, for instance, what if we had that mindset? I'm in service to you, you're in service to me, and we're pushing this union towards a certain goal. I think that gives it a likelihood for success if you have people within that world with the same goal. Next up, we have deciding what type of co-star that you will be. In the shared worlds you are a part of, what type of co-star do you strive to be? How do your actions influence people around you? Think about whether you see yourself as a leader, a supporter, a problem solver, or perhaps someone who brings the positivity. How do others respond to the role you play? This really resonates because it's something that I pride myself on. I always realize the one thing in life that I enjoy doing is affecting people's emotions. With my mom, I used to stay hiding for like 3 hours just to scare her so I can see her reaction. And as you get older and you notice you can bully people, and you notice as a man, you can talk to your woman a certain type of way and affect their emotions and make her cry. And I never really enjoyed that feeling that I get from being that type of co-star. So I try to do the opposite. I want to evoke pleasure from their emotions more than I do pain.
Yeah, so you mentioned we're co stars for a reason, a season, or a lifetime, depending on the relationship. The resources that person gives as a co star is based on their time, their energy, their knowledge, their skill set. It's all relevant to the experience that they're engaged in with that person.
Yeah, that's real. I don't really go by that old saying because I believe that everyone comes into your life for a reason. Even if I'm the bully, that is teaching you something. You need to start standing up for yourself, maybe, or you need to find some type of way to deal with this situation and anybody else that comes along in your life who is like me. So now you got a blueprint on how to deal with bullies. The truth hurts sometimes. As a co-star, you have to decide when to tell the truth because that's ultimately can bring them pain. And it's like, what do you value? The truth or not offending someone? You are the star of your world. You are a co-star in their world. And they have boundaries just as well as you. To respect the other people's boundaries, the rules they have in their world, that's the type of co-star that I want to be. If your boundaries and rules is something that I can't abide by, then I'm going to leave your world.
Can boundaries and rules change in the progression of how you're co starring in someone's world? Yes, all relationships or interactions are from reasons, but when it turns into something much longer, right? You had maybe one idea on how you were going to co star in this person's world. For instance, you went to your favorite coffee shop and the barista, makes great coffee for you, and then you think that's only that relationship you have with this person. But then you end up taking a class with them or being at another event with them. Now that relationship deepens because there's more engagement interaction. Do the boundaries change or do they stay the same? The rules of engagement. How does that work and flow?
Well, that's in terms of the trust. Like when you go to a website, it's a certification to make sure that you're trusted. And so now that's the same thing in a relationship. So whenever we start a relationship, we look at this person's actions, this person's virtues, how they are. We already have our boundaries in place. They might open the door, move the gate open, let the drawbridge down to let you pass these boundaries, but that's because they trusted you not to hurt them, because those boundaries were put in place to prevent pain in those people's world. And it's just to respect that.
That's what's up.
Okay, we'll move to the next one. This is number two. Think about a time when your actions in a shared world have a positive or negative effect on others. How did your behavior impact the collective experience of that world? Focus on the outcomes of your decisions, whether intentional or unintentional. How did you adjust or grow from that situation? Wow, that's deep.
Well, some of the projects I work on, I want them to have a positive impact on others. But sometimes, because of the content that we are discussing in these spaces, it has a negative result on someone. It dredges up a memory that's painful. And so, those are things that I have to be cognizant of, how people engage with things that I share, because people have different traumatic experiences and some topics are really sensitive and you just never know how people are going to react to them.
Yeah, like I was saying earlier, do I withhold this information not to hurt their feelings? Or do I tell them the truth, what I feel they need to hear, and risk the consequences of them getting upset or triggered?
I think truth always wins, and being armed with knowing that this truth might be painful and having resources or something to support a negative response to the truth is helpful. It's like, okay, I'm going to drop this bomb on this person. So, how do I support them in dealing with this bomb that I just unloaded on them?
That makes a lot of sense. In terms of deciding what type of co star that I want to be, I'm going to determine that how close you are to me, how much of a priority you are in my world, because we have a finite amount of resources. You still have to consider your world as the priority.
Right.
What's important to you, the people, the situations, your job, anything that's of value to you, and your resources have to go to somebody that's not really that close to me that I may see occasionally and they need money. I'm going to, of course, pay my bills first, but if my very close friend needs money, I'm going to give it to them first. This person, even though I'm a co-star in their world, they're not privileged to all my resources.
Yes, and sometimes it's hard to suss out, right? The balance of all the various relationships that we're in with people. At some periods of time, some people are really close to us and are a part of our inner circle. And then as time goes on, that relationship is more distant because of maybe actual distance or time and
Mhm.
engagement with that person. So the prioritization in our lives changes as time goes by, depending on
Right.
how we nurture these relationships with these people.
And it's important to make that cycle and look and assess what's important to your life. We'll talk about this later, recognizing what you're willing to sacrifice for. Who are you willing to sacrifice for? And then you'll begin to understand your priorities.
Right.
It says focus on your outcomes of your decisions, whether intentional or unintentional. For me, when someone comes into my world, I'm like, okay, I appreciate you being here. And I recognize that you have your world with your pain, your struggles, your desires, and you have your own life. And so you may not decide to be in my world. And if you leave, I may not want you to leave, but I'm going off my feelings if I try to act on that. I can't control your world. So if you decide to leave my world, I appreciate that moment, those experiences that we had, even though I'm disappointed that you left. I may not even know the reason. With that understanding, I enter other people's worlds with that
Yes.
same mentality. So now I'm expecting them to be just like me and think, just be happy that I'm in your world for this moment. And if I leave, I leave, not realizing the pain that I'm causing people who get attached to me, who get used to my resources that I provide. It may be comfort, it may be just listening to them, it may be advice. However, I'm helping them out, I'm no longer doing that. I'm recognizing that I'm causing pain in these people's world by doing that. So I have to find a way, either communicate it up front or find some type of way to try to alleviate that pain.
But that's hard. Even if you are upfront, people grow attached to things they love and adore and love to experience. When you abandon them, they will feel abandoned. They will feel hurt. They will feel pain because that relationship is no longer there. whether it was stated up front or not. Emotions
Yeah.
and feelings are not logical, they just are what you feel.
I do think sometimes it's how a person leaves can make it a little bit worse. If you're married to this person for 10 years and this person sit down and have a conversation with you and say, look, I don't think this is going the way I expected to. I want a divorce. You wouldn't like it, but you'd have to accept it, as opposed to you wake up and there's a Dear John letter.
Yes, that's true. At least having the conversation, going back to what we were talking about earlier, how truth hurts. If someone is communicating to you, I am leaving because this isn't working out for me because of X, Y, and Z, at least that person who's receiving this information, who's receiving this truth, as painful as it will be to hear, will know what happened, as opposed to being ghosted, the Dear John scenario.
Mm-hmm.
Hearing that truth, however painful it is much better for closure. And this is what happened in this relationship, and I must move on. It's kind of like that Usher song that's out now. We can't be together anymore, but I love you. I wish you well. I want all positive things for you, but our relationship as it was is no more.
Mm-hmm. Okay, number 3. What values and principles do you bring from your world into shared worlds? How do these values help or hinder your interactions with others? Reflect on any conflicts or harmonies that arise when your personal values clash with the rules or expectations of a shared world. How do you handle these situations? I think it's very important, as we discussed, to have your own rules, your own values, and they may not align in this world that we share. In one person's world, right? They may consider a woman to have once had a period, have ovaries, or the ability to give birth. In this world that we share, that's not the definition of the word woman. A woman does not have to meet those factors in order to be a woman. So how do I react with that? You're not a woman, you're not, do I bring that energy out to this world? Is it that serious to me? Do I put that much value into it?
But those aren't values.
Those are values. That's what you believe. That's what people base their values off of, what they believe, whether it's right or wrong, or you disagree with it or not.
When I think about values, I think about altruism, accountability, personal growth, sustainability, uniqueness, adaptability. Like gratitude is a huge one. Those are examples of values.
Okay. Well, even if it's not, they believe this. I think you
Right.
stuck up on the word value, but beyond that, this is what they believe. Based on the belief in my world, how will I use that belief in this world that we share? And then you think about it, every organization, they feel some type of pain. This individual or a collective group, this organization is created to prevent this pain. Any society, animal rights, climate change, political parties, anything that we do is based on that. This is what I believe. I want to implement my beliefs into this world that we share. And this is why. Because if we don't, this is going to happen.
I just try to lead with kindness at all times for all people, no matter who they describe themselves to be.
Okay, I think you're still getting caught up on the example that I used. That was just an example. No matter what you believe, there's going to be someone that has an
But
opposite opinion.
correct, that is true. But for me personally, I would hope that the guiding principles for others is to act with kindness and think of kindness before anything else.
Kindness could get you killed. You understand that? If you're too kind, that could get you killed. So to just say to act on kindness, no, that has to be balanced just like any other virtue. So I'm not saying don't be kind, but I wouldn't say necessarily lead with kind, because how you said you value the truth. Sometimes that truth is not necessarily correlated with kindness. They may not feel kindness when you give them the truth.
True, and we have to discern in these various situations which values to bring forward if we're
Right.
operating from a place of integrity at all times.
That's what I'm saying. What's justice to me is not justice to you. Not
Yeah,
necessarily. What's
that's
kind,
very true.
Yeah,
That's
so
very
each
true.
person is on. And so now if I believe this and I could get 3 other people and then it grow to 10 other people, next thing you know is forming a movement based on what I believe in my world. Who are you harming by implementing your beliefs into this world?
And should the goal always be to do no harm?
I can't
Yeah.
say that either.
Because
So
I was
hey,
going to say, if you're playing on the football field, you want to harm the other team because you want to win the game.
yeah, exactly. So me preventing this group of people from coming into my neighborhood, not even based on race, let's just say based on this culture or whatever, that's hurting them. But I'm doing it for my benefit, our property value, our safety. See, kindness doesn't have anything to do with that. I'm sorry, but you guys can't come in putting couches on the front lawn. That's just not, we can't have that in this neighborhood. You see, you can't have 6 cars in your driveway and only 2 of them working. Like, oh, we don't do that in this neighborhood. You see what I'm
I
saying?
do. Because my family is that family that has 6 cars in the front yard.
Again, that
That's
goes back to the values, the beliefs, because that's all motivating our actions.
Well, I think that a good rule of thumb is know what your values and principles are, the guiding force that leads your life on a daily basis. Discern when that harms others and understand that not everybody's going to engage with you or react to you in a positive way because they may have different philosophies that guide their life, right? And they have the right to do so. They have the right to be that way. They have the right to think that way. But we are not
Hmm.
to impose our way of life and our way of thinking onto other people.
But
And
you do that anyway, though. Sorry to cut you off, but you do that anyway.
I try to love people for who and what they are and let them be who they are.
Let's just say, for instance, somebody believe in this program that'll help a certain group of people. So we're going to implement this program. And so now this group of people that you're helping may get this position or this coveted spot. So now those people that would not normally get those spots, they are affected. Their world is quote unquote negatively affected. And
Mm.
what you're doing is bringing beauty. You feel like I'm helping this world move forward. That's a belief you can really have, but regardless, you're hurting these people. You're bringing pain into their world.
Unintentionally. And
And
so
that's
then
what it
that goes,
said.
and then it goes back to our previous conversation. Well, how do we give resources and support when unintentional harm may be a byproduct of a decision that I have made or that
Hmm.
someone has made? By us providing services for this group of people, how do we ensure that they're not harming these benefits that they're getting is harming other people that are in the same community?
That's the
Yeah.
balance. There's only a limited amount of nuts. You got more squirrels than you do nuts.
Well, then there creates an opportunity to find more nuts so that everyone is served.
That's such a beautiful way to look at it. Some
Yeah,
people could be like, this is the opportunity for the survival of the fittest.
right. The scarcity theory thinking is the mindset that most of us have been indoctrinated with. I think that we've been indoctrinated in thinking that there's not enough for everyone when I believe there is. I believe there's more than enough for everyone. We just haven't discovered ways of creating those situations. We have a lack of generosity and empathy in our human form that we're in now to understand that there is enough for everybody and we should be supporting everybody and getting everybody gets their nut.
Okay. And that's a belief in your world. And you go into this world that we share, a lot of people do not share those beliefs. And there's a lot of people who do. I think the main part is just understanding that you are entering other people's worlds. You are the co star, you're not the main star. This is the final one. Consider a time when interacting with someone else's world brought you pain, such as through conflict, rejection, or betrayal. How do you process that experience and what did you learn from it? Focus on how you handled the emotional or practical challenge of that situation. What strategies did you use to grow from the pain?
This is a hard one for me because I don't handle betrayal well. And in relationships, it happens quite often, unfortunately. I don't really process it. Just keep moving and keep working and don't interact with that person anymore that betrayed me. But I don't ever really process the pain, the blows that were given to me. I may be in a corner and cry about it for a while, and eventually I won't cry as much anymore. But I don't think I really process things to move forward once I've been betrayed.
I understand what you're saying. I do feel you. This is just to recognize that when we do enter a person's world, the likelihood does increases. They have their world, you have your world. You have your belief, your rules, and they have theirs. Boundaries sometimes will get crossed. We say betrayal, but what is betrayal? Maybe they lied to you. Maybe they stole from you. They didn't fulfill the contract that they had with you. I didn't meet your expectations, and now you're disappointed. Once you recognize that this person has their worlds, they have their own issues, their own things that they're dealing with. What you did to me, you disappointed me, no doubt. But I don't take it personal. It's something you dealing with. I didn't do anything wrong. You the one that needs to deal with your issues. You gave me a lesson, information about you, and now I move on with my life. I could possibly put you out of my world or hold you in my world and not keep you as close to where you can steal from me or betray me or anything like that.
Yeah, loving people for who and what they are from a distance.
Right. But when we do interact with people, there are benefits. There's still those special moments that we share together. I can still take those moments, appreciate them, move on with it. On the flip side, reflect on a time when sharing your world with others brought you joy, connection, or support. How did that experience enrich your life? Think about how shared experiences of friendship, teamwork, or mutual understanding have added value to your life. What have you gained from these interactions? And that's kind of what you spoke about earlier with your organization, right?
Yes, it's just been a wonderful thing to see how each of us grow as individuals and colleagues. It's really been a positive experience.
That seemed like the core of a relationship, back to what we were saying earlier, when that could be a relationship, a friendship, teamwork, everything going towards that goal. And I was blessed to have that growing up, a friend knee high. We used to try to spend the night to each other's house, going to church together, high school, all the way up to he would come to the military base with me. We also experienced tragic moments together and was there to support each other. So it's a beautiful thing to have that type of relationship if we are blessed to have that. Finally, the conclusion, navigating the worlds that we share. Moving forward, how will you approach the worlds you enter? What challenges can you make to become a more mindful co-star in these shared spaces? Reflect on how you can apply what you've learned to create a more positive, respectful, and impactful interactions with others.
I believe me being more empathetic, having more awareness of others and their situations and how they're navigating the world, that's a change that I can make to be a more mindful co star for others in the worlds that we share together, whether it's professional or personal, friendships or colleagues.
Yeah, the empathy. A lot of the things we touched upon, like recognizing it, balancing the control, maintaining the control of your own world while respecting others. Mindful decisions, that's important. Just knowing that you're entering this world mindfully, knowing the interactions that you have, the power that you can bring, the power that they bring to your world. That's really important because now you can move towards a collective experience. And finally, the growth from interactions. In that world we share is opportunity for growth, reflection, and connection. Those things that we do not like that people do to us, those are opportunity for us to grow as human beings. It doesn't feel good, but we can gather information from it. Now we can apply that information moving forward. Try not to do that same thing again. Each interaction, each experience is something that you can learn from and grow. Because honestly, I wouldn't talk to you people if I didn't have to. I'd rather swim with fishes. Miss Alyssa, I appreciate your beautiful energy.
Thank you. I appreciate you. Thank you for having me.
And I totally respect your world. Thank you for joining. I wish everyone blessings on their journey. Peace.